So Jinx tells me that in the extended universe, before it got changed, there's an Anakin Solo, and he's the son, of course, like Luke and Han. So, he has Force powers, and he has the ability to influence machines. Like he's a special thing he can do. But I'm like, in the Clone Wars, that wouldn't be so special because of this. Like, hey, I thought this guy was a Jedi because he's got the robe and the lightsaber, but he said he's not a Jedi, so that's cool. Roger, 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 Roger. Like, oh no, he killed the commander. Well, now what? Well, he says he's the commander now. Roger, 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 Roger. I love the droids. Welcome, friends, LostScarf here. It's time for the vlog. Okay, so, I made politics like the first minute for no good reason, but it's because I want to get the bad out of the way first. Government shutdown, not good. Making a Democrat thing, really dumb. Like, obviously not. When the House is in control, when the House and Senate are both in control by Republicans, when everything's in control by Republicans, they have everything. You're telling me the Democrats are the problem? There's supposed to be bipartisan work going on here. If they're doing enough to have a shutdown, then you gotta bridge the gap. You gotta try to find the bridge to the gap. And they've been trying to with the whole DACA and everything else with the wall and everything. Trump's like, he wants the wall. He wants the wall, but the fact it's no longer Mexico paying for it, it's us paying for it now, he's failed. Stop with the damn wall at this point. Just come on. Come on. He's like, it's always been 20 billion. It's never not been 20 billion. It's amazing how 1984 everything Trump does is and how we just buy it. And I can't believe how good that book is in just predicting that stupid stuff like this actually can happen. Doublespeak. We're not war with Eurasia, just stupid stuff like that, and it's real, and it's so scary, crazy, and I'm actually curious what George Orwell would think if he was alive today. There's a lot of things he'd probably not be a fan of. History lesson on George Orwell for a moment. George Orwell was afraid that language would become worse over time, because he was afraid people would only think in catchphrases. This is part of why his whole doublethink thing in 1984, because he was afraid we'd become dumber and less articulate because we would just think in catchphrases instead of in actual thoughts. And sometimes he might actually be right, but not to the extent he really realized, because we're at the point where people are using pictures and GIFs and other things for memes and everything to articulate their thoughts and feelings. And I do worry if maybe that actually people do have less thought because they're thinking, or they're using things like this just to convey their thoughts instead of actually using words. I am actually curious if we are getting dumber or just the way our way of thinking is changing. That's really what I'm curious about. Or can people still articulate their thoughts without reverting to using memes or GIFs or catchphrases? That is a curiosity, and I don't know how you actually answer that, because it's just easier to just use certain things like GIFs and such to convey it, because like, whoa, I already have a go-to for it, instead of having to do it. Then again, this is why people invent words. This is why Shakespeare invented all these words, to articulate, or what he actually wanted to say. So we can still invent things, but we're at a point where, because of how media is, we can use images and such. So maybe we are evolving, while also de-evolving in another way. Maybe. And with the age we're in, that might be fine. But if we had an apocalypse, maybe we wouldn't be, but the idea is to not have an apocalypse, so I guess it'd be alright, okay. Channel stuff. Steve from Checkpoint is the newest guest. He'll be up on Wednesday or Friday, depending what happens. And that's an interesting talk. Just going over, just saying what it is. It's going to be about the YouTube changes, the Twitch changes, and then we go over politics and other philosophical stuff for a minute. And we talk about the Queen, because he's from England. So there you go. And then Nintendo Labo, and then how interesting that is. Talk about Nintendo Labo. What the hell? I don't understand the complaints about Nintendo Labo. It's just cardboard. It's not about the cardboard. It's about the software. It's about the experience. It's about what it do. Because you can say the same thing for cartridges. These cartridges are just like silicone and plastic and really bitter tasting. Like there you go. It's about the thing that's in there. It's about the thing that you get from it. It's about the experience, about the software. It's like just complaining like you buy them, it's just ones and zeros. Like, there's not just ones and zeros, obviously. It's all these things. So why is this cardboard the problem? I don't understand. Also, a lot of people like, this isn't for me. He's like, oh, it's not meant for you. In the thing, they're like, yeah, this is for kids. This is going to be a fun thing for kids. Some people will enjoy it that aren't kids. Like, I'm like, that looks pretty cool. Like, the fishing thing looks fun. Piano thing looks fun. The robot thing looks awesome. Like, there's a pulley system going on with the robot system. Like, it's like, this all looks cool. Not gonna buy it because I don't have the time to build things and to do all that stuff. Actually, we might. That would be an interesting video. Scarf fails to make anything and wastes all his money. But I am interested in it as the potential to it is huge. I'm actually curious what Pack 3 is going to be and Pack 4 is going to be and so on and so forth. Because I think it will at least be an initial hit and then we'll see where it goes from there. Because it is a very interesting idea. And just getting kids to make things and seeing, and some of them might make a connection to how they're making things and how the Joy-Con links to it. And this could lead to some kids actually considering just engineering and just other ideas from there, or just more creative building ideas. Because they're getting shown a way to do certain things in a different way. They're getting shown to just do something more with the Joy-Cons, with the Switch itself, outside of just using it as a mobile console or as a console. When you show someone potential, when you give them a tangible idea of what potential can be, they can create anything, which is amazing, which is what's so awesome about the Nintendo Labo. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that does. You're just opening doors. It's what it is. Nintendo's opening doors for kids. That's what they're doing. It's giving them a new level of possibility, and that is awesome. That's really what it is, and I'm hyped for that. Other things on the channel, Dragon Ball Super's in a week. Dragon Ball Super's in a week. Okay, the whole weekend's gonna be Super. Dragon Ball FighterZ. The entire weekend's gonna be Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's nothing but that. I'll probably take breaks to do other things, maybe, but it's gonna be that. It's a fighting game. I love fighting games. I've played fighting games all my life, and it's Dragon Ball. So good combination of the two right there. And if it's very competently made, like it's Arc System, so it should be competently made. I'll be playing for a long time, and we'll see a lot of stuff coming out of it. We'll at least see the main story, because there is a story on the main channel, and we're gonna see a lot of just me playing the game on the side channel. The other thing is, I might want to do lower level tutorial for this because there's other people who can do it too. But if I feel like I can articulate it, or just to give me an excuse to play more of the game, I might do tutorial videos on this, just because I really like fighters, and if I really like this one, if I really mesh with this, then I'll do it, and it should be a lot of fun, because a lot of characters go over. And when I play a fighter, I like to understand every single character, because if you understand it's just like Smite. If you understand every single character, you understand what you're fighting. You understand what you're playing, and you understand what you're doing and being done against you. So you know exactly what combos to look out for, what specials to look out for, so you know how to place yourself, and how to just poke and do all these things to your opponent. Like, that's the advantage to understanding every character. If you just grind out just 3 characters, that you're also going to be really good, and you'll learn how to deal with things as you get hit with them, but if you actually play them, you have a better idea of what their potential is. And then, of course, there's going to be DLC characters, so down the line there will be more Dragon Ball FighterZ as well with that. But looking forward to that. Never going to be good enough to deal with competitive stuff. Probably play it anyway, but my days of being able to just play one game to the point that I can try to be pro at it, that's gone. That's over. That's definitely not there anymore. But it will be fun to play it and be like mid-tier or high mid-tier or mid-high tier. I'm always in like the 80% or 90% when it comes to fighters. I'm just never been good enough to be in like the 1%. Because those people are ridic. There's, let's see here. There's new Bountiful researchers coming out. A lot of boobs. There are some games that I can't believe this is on Steam. Like, holy crap. There is some stuff. There's gonna be some chat stuff coming up as well in the future. Really excited for how we handle that. One other thing with the channel would be, I think, we'll see how we do one-shots and ScarfVLOG'D. There's going to be some changes to that a little bit. I think I've been making videos for the sake of making videos, and not enough just making them because I want to make them. So, I gotta work on that a little bit. Other thing is, what was the thing I was going to say? Oh! Twitch is going to let you have pre-made videos on there now, and that's an interesting change, and I don't know what we'll do with that. I think we got to wait and see what happens with that, and how Twitch wants to be a competitor with YouTube. It's an interesting idea. We'll see what it does, and yeah, we'll just see. But it seems like it's more of a thing for you to just have videos for your following to see, not for people to come over and be like, oh, this person worth watching. It's more just to enrich your area. At least that's my interpretation for what I see of it. But we'll see if there's a way of doing good discovery on there. Because YouTube just has so many people on there, it's hard to get discovered. While Twitch being mostly only a gaming thing, it might be easy to get discovered there. So it is worth this. It is worth experimenting with. Now for a topic, and here's a serious question: is what do you do? How do you deal? Not the right word to put it, but what do you do when you encounter someone who just hates themselves, or they're just depressed, they just don't like themselves? Like, how can you actually help them out or impact them? I feel like it's just, is it a losing battle? Is it even possible to help? What can you do? And I think it's different for every person you encounter, if it actually is helpful. A while back, a friend showed me this video from a girl named Jagan. She's actually extremely popular. She has like millions of subs, millions of views on all this stuff. Like, I never heard of them because YouTube is huge. And they do like art stuff. And they did a video on why they've never shown their face. It was very interesting about how how their body image and how they feel about themselves and how they feel like a fraud and just they don't find themselves attractive and how they, in their depression, it was either bulimia or it's anorexia. They did one or the other. Or maybe both. And no matter how many times people said they looked attractive and all this stuff, it didn't do anything for them. It did not affect them. And they just went deeper and deeper about their depression, and then them climbing out of it a little bit and just their thoughts on people, will they just keep going despite their depression, stuff like that. Very interesting video. And in the end, like, oh, there's a part where she says she was at like VidCon or one of the cons, and she's in a bunch of footage, and she asked the person who made the video if they could go in there and edit out their face from all the footage. They spent the entire day doing that. It was like, to that degree. When you hate yourself to that degree, that is amazing in a horrible way. But she did that, and then the person was like, no, I'm actually just going to forget it. They're just going to put the original footage forward. And it's like, they just did not like their image to that degree. And in the end, they said, forget it. Here I am. Here's who I am. And I saw in the comments an overwhelming amount of people saying, well, you're attractive. You look great. And it's like, earlier in the video, she establishes that doesn't do anything for her. So I wonder, should you still be doing that? Or should you I feel like you should be taking a different approach. I feel like, and this is leading to something else, that is, when someone's depressed and they talk about something, it feels like no matter what you say directly to that topic, it's not going to do anything unless you reinforce it. If they say they're ugly and you say, yeah, you are, that's going to make it worse. If you say, no, you're actually pretty, it seems like it's not going to do anything. At least that's what it seems to me. And I think it's the same thing for things I've worked on where I'm like, well, this is crap, this is not so great. And people say, no, it's actually good. And I don't actually acknowledge any of that. Because I'm just so deep in my thoughts of this isn't so great or I'm not so great. And so, like, in my own depression, I recognize that. So I wonder if the better approach would be to either change the topic or talk about something else, maybe, to get their mood up. Not talk about this directly, but talk about something else. Or to just listen, maybe. Like, actually go, why? I think this might be the best way to go about it. And I don't know how I can pull that off, but I mean, how they actually go about it, because you don't want to wait for someone to be depressed. You don't want to look for someone to be depressed to figure it out, but just if it happens, there's more, why do they feel that way? And I'm actually curious if this is maybe the better way to do it is, why do they feel that this isn't good enough or that's not so great? And maybe analyze it with them and see where they're right and where they're wrong about that. And by actually putting actual thought out to another human being, they're actually saying it to another person, maybe through evaluation they can find that perhaps they are wrong and they can go to a better position from there, more up. Because there are times when you're down, it's actually about something really dumb, but because you're only talking to yourself, it's only you with yourself, you can reinforce how bad it is, while not realizing how dumb that thought is. But by trying to articulate it with another human being, they can see the cracks and help you see the cracks. And perhaps you will find a way to a better thought than the down thoughts you have. I'm trying to articulate this. I'm articulating this poorly. Realizing now, Jinx does this to me. Whenever I get down about something, she's like, well, why do you think that? And then she'll is like, well, okay, it's because of these things and this and that. And she's like, okay, those are your defenses? I'm like, well, what? What? I think Jinx shames me into a better position. Wow, just learned that. Because she's like, well, that's a dumb thing to be upset about. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. Oh, jeez. But I think, yeah, analyzing, putting more thought into it than just the raw emotion of depression, maybe that'd be helpful. I might be just thinking out loud right now about this topic a little bit, because this is a very difficult and murky topic. It is like, how do you not deal, but how do you help someone who is in a bad spot? I don't feel like leaving someone alone is the best way. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is better to leave someone alone. Sometimes that is the move. But sometimes it isn't. And that is, I think, the best blanket move anyone can make with a depressed person is be there for them and be open to listening to them. I think that is the best thing you can do for someone. It's on them if they're going to it's still on them to talk to you, but being available is, I think, very huge. Because maybe they will open up and talk to you. And by opening up and expressing what is getting them down or what they feel depressed about, can allow them to reflect on it, not through their mind, but through words, because it's out there, and maybe they'll have a better understanding of it. Because when it's just in your head, you can just cycle it into just such a bad thing. And so I'm just thinking about that. Just how better to address depression with someone else. Like, because I see it on like Twitter and with like friends and all this all the time, is they just hate themselves. It's the worst when you see it on Twitter. Like, I have a couple people I follow on Twitter, they freaking hate themselves. Like, it's just, every tweet is about how much they suck, and it's just like, but you're not, you don't suck, you're awesome. Of course, I'm not close with a lot of these people, they're just people I'm a fan of. I'm like, what can I really say? What can I really do here? I can't really do much. Is hitting the like button enough? Probably not. Is saying, well, you are awesome, or things like that, is that enough? I don't know. Because that's the crux of it. I don't know what can you actually do. Like, even, like, I guess the machine is like, there's an overwhelming number of people who say, no, they're wrong, they actually are awesome. Maybe that helps. I don't know. It just feels like there's like a numbness to positivity when you're really depressed. And I'm thinking out loud, how can you subvert that numbness? How can you get around it and help the person? Of course, I'm thinking about this out loud, thinking about this because of how many people we have helped and how many people we will have to help, well, not help, but we will help in the future, just by life and such, and how people do come to us sometimes. And I listen to them, and there's a lot of darkness in this world. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of people dealing with the darkness. And I hear a lot of stories and a lot of things. And it's like, damn. And kind words can only do so much, but at the center of it, I think the most helpful thing that I have done is listen. Because another human being knows what they're going through, actually understands what they're going through. And I think that's it. Above all, that is the best thing you can do if you don't have any ideas what to do, is just be there and listen to somebody. I think that is really, really powerful, very helpful. I think I've helped a lot of people just by doing that. And if they do ask for advice, then give the advice. If they're not asking for advice, probably don't give advice. Like, people who are depressed, and when they share, they're not necessarily looking for pity. They're not necessarily looking for, definitely not pity, but just for help. Well, maybe looking for help, but sometimes they're just shouting into the void because they need something or someone to know that they're hurting. That's something I see a lot with Twitter, is there's a lot of people who are just voicing their pain. And people like, what, stop. The people that get mad about this, like, no, don't get mad about that. If you don't want to follow them, don't follow them. Whatever. Don't tell them that. It's not going to make them feel better. Twitter is a void you can shout into. I think that's a useful thing about Twitter. Twitter's a lot of things, but I think that's one of the useful parts of Twitter is it's a void for people to shout into, where they can just get it out there. And that's not a bad thing at all. If you're not a fan of seeing people's tweets about that, then you just stop following them. It's simple as that. You don't need to tell them. You can just stop following. But, of course, I'm just thinking about how can you help people who are depressed? How better can you help people? That's important to me, of course. Just helping people. And so there's just me thinking out loud. So what are your thoughts on helping someone who was depressed and all that? Like, because it's really an interesting topic. What is the center to it? Is there a center? Like, there isn't. So many people are different. There's just so many approaches to just different people that something that works for one will not work for another. And it's also how much someone trusts you and how much of a friend they are and everything. Like, when I'm hanging out with Jinx, and if I am depressed, yeah, she does. She tries to hit it. She goes about it logically. She's like, well, logically, this is dumb. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess you're right. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes Jinx can convince me that I'm being depressed about something dumb, and sometimes she does not convince me. And that's kind of the mixed bag about anyone who's depressed. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But, yeah, just thoughts out loud, and I want to know your thoughts on just how you approach someone who's depressed, or how do you deal with that? Now, this is a different thing from, of course, people who, this is also a thing on the other foot when it comes to depressed people, is if all you do is talk about your depression, you will kind of scare your friends away, because that's all you do is bring them down. And that's part of it. And that will make you more depressed, is the thought of, well, if all I do is talk about depression, I'm just gonna be alone, and then just get down and down and down and down. So there is a bit of, you have to understand yourself, that you gotta help yourself out as well. You gotta help yourself get out of it as well when you're reaching out to other people, which is a hard thing to do, because you can also use that on yourself to make things worse. This is why depression is so goddamn complicated. But I don't know. I have seen things I've used to help people get twisted in ways I never imagined and used to make things worse. But sometimes it does. Sometimes they do help people. Sometimes they make it worse. The mind is amazing and what it can do to bend things. Mental gymnastics are impressively scary. But there you go. That right there is the vlog. I had fun talking about it while watching and listening. Please tell me your thoughts on depression, because the more dialogue on this, maybe the better we as people can help each other and other people. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.